Is lack of fitness the issue for your athlete, or are they just slow? Welcome back to the Athlete's Edge podcast. The inspiration for today's topic was conversations I've been having with parents around their child's running mechanics and how they look a bit awkward and that they need to improve their fitness. So for parents out there who watch their child out in the field or court and that they tire out pretty quickly or just can't keep up, why is that?
So in my opinion, what I see is too many athletes are pushed to train more when they're already struggling. And that comes off the back of the right intentions, as in that they want their athletes to be better, but the assumption being made is that the athlete isn't fit enough, so they add in more conditioning. So what actually happens, they get slower, they're not getting faster as a result. Their technique's going to break down more because now they're tired and they're not working on the technique. And then long term, what we see is the athletes don't really reach their potential. And that's assuming they don't get injured in the process. For me, the goal is more around not to be the fittest player on the field or court, but to be the fastest. To me, when we train speed and we work on technique and movement efficiency, what we see is athletes cover the ground with less effort. They're going to stay healthier and they perform not only at a higher level, but they perform when it matters most. And the irony is that they actually look fitter while they're doing less.
So we've sort of talked in the past about your story and your journey. So I guess can you walk us through that and how, I guess, training the wrong way held you back as an athlete?
Yep, I can talk through mine, but maybe yours as well, being more recent. Do you want to talk about your footy journey and why'd you find Athlete's Edge?
To go back to the start, obviously trialled for the Bushies after my top age 16 year. Didn't quite make the cut just due to my sort of lack of speed. Came second in the league medal. Did the Bushies testing and didn't make the initial squad, which was pretty deflating. And then straight away got to work on my speed. Originally, I was watching YouTube videos and sort of just trying to emulate them and see, I guess, what I could get out of that. Obviously, without the right program and just sort of blindly following something, it probably didn't get the results I was after. Had a couple mates who actually were in the Bushies that, back then, Border Sports. So that's when I first started with Tim at sort of Border Sports Athlete's Edge, what it is now.
There are probably two questions there. You had tried some other sprint coaching, and I guess when you see our approach, what's different to maybe how others do it? You don't have to. And then off the back of that too, where's your speed at now? So when you see our speed session, we obviously test every training session with some objective numbers. So where's your speed at now versus where it was even 2 years ago?
It's drastically improved from, I guess, what I was previously doing was typical hill sprints. It was nearly more that kind of conditioning type of training. So yes, maybe was I getting fitter potentially? Was I getting faster? Not really. So compare that to what I do with Athlete's Edge, my top speed has gone from, I reckon, max 7 meters per second to over 10 meters per second.
So for me, obviously, I'm going back a bit more than 2 years. But growing up, two sports, obviously water polo with some swimming there and footy, my experience was always the harder training was, the more it was celebrated and the more we assumed that it must be working, the more exhausted everyone was, it must be a good session. What I now know is, when I look back, how much potential was capped by that approach. I don't think my sports skills were ever really the issue. It was the fact that, one, trying to stay healthy and little niggles interrupting a lot of my ability to stay consistent. And then I just never reached my full athletic potential. I'm lucky to work with some great coaches on the swimming side with Mitch and obviously the Bushy staff from a footy perspective, and just their level of understanding of what matters, which it's really refreshing, and it really complements my approach to athletic development, which is why I think we work also well together, in that they really value the high intensity efforts, the really athletic traits, to the point that we'd say the Bushies this year, we didn't even do a 2 kilometre time trial. We actually cut it back to 1. And that being that when we actually average out the speed across that event, we're starting to see that upper end high speed running / sprint distance pacing. Because my approach is like, what's the point of seeing someone run around at 4 or 5 meters per second for 6.5, 7.5 minutes when that's not what matters in the sport context from an AFL perspective. It's your ability to hit higher intensities and sustain those outputs across a game. and where we see athletes tired. So talking about athletes looking tired on the field, well, it's not necessarily that they're unfit. It's the fact that they can't hit high speeds or hold higher speeds for long enough. So then they tire really quick, they flatline, and now a result they're in a world of pain and really struggle off the back of that.
Is there a way that you can sort of approach for sort of athlete development?
So the overarching philosophy there isn't around, to me, we want to build Formula One cars, not tractors. Formula One cars, fine-tuned machines, really fast, very much about racing, competing, versus tractors, reliable, plod around, durable, but slow. So I guess when I break it down, probably into 4 points, it's to me speed first, making sure you're prioritizing your speed training number one, because I'm a believer that if you're trying to do 2 or 3 things at once in terms of your training, you just do nothing well. So making speed a priority. Off the back of that, sprinting when you're fresh. So making sure you're manipulating your training schedule. So you can't just fit everything in and expect if you've done a really hard footy session the night before, you're going to roll into a session the next morning and do it really well. So making sure you can manipulate your variables there where you can. Then when you look at your training, building a speed reserve. So I think we look at fitness, so get fitter. To me, I wish that fitness conversation was more around how do I build my speed reserve? How do I get faster, so lift my ceiling, so I've got a bigger range of intensities I can work at to basically pace myself better. I raise my ceiling, but now can I build some repeatability around that, which is where our technique and stuff comes in. Because if you've got more robust technique, you can do more work with less energy leaks, meaning you're going to not tire as quick. And the 4th point there was making sure you're tracking what matters. So for us, we time our accelerations, our velocities every session. So we've got our timing gate, so you get objective feedback. It gamifies it a little bit, creates some friendly competition. We test our speed every 2 weeks with a really reliable sprint machine, so we get some great data there. And things like, at Bushies, for example, with our GPS, one of the key metrics we use is sprint distance. So how hard are you working at, intensities, as well as our max velocities and a few other things. But where I'm less concerned with running you do from a general, because we know at different levels that doesn't change too much. The games mean more running time, more running. But for me, I want how much of that running is done at a higher intensity. When I look at the draft records, when I look at, up in the AFL, for example, what we see consistently is the most attractive draft talent is the ones that are fast and can produce speeds on a more frequent basis.
And so off the back of that, why is it so hard for people to believe that less volume can actually lead to better outcomes? Because it's, like you said, the natural reaction is to more volume equals better outcomes, but that's not always necessarily the case, as you just outlined.
I just think it comes back to the myth around if they're not keeping up, they're not fit enough. And I think it's to default to, let's just work them more. Let's work them harder. They'll get fitter. They'll get tougher. But if they can't keep up, it's, to me, probably a speed or a technique issue. Fitness doesn't fix slow. It'll just hide it, probably until it's too late to fix it. And that's, you're a good one. So for me, the goal isn't more work, it's doing the right work at the right times. To summarise it all, let's think sort of long-term performance, not sort of short-term results, which just tends to lead burnout. Start with speed, prioritise and protect your technique. And that to do both of those things, we need really smart load management. That's not do less, because yes, we want to be training hard and training often, but we just need to be a lot smarter in how we approach that. Need these old methods where we just flog athletes into sort of and getting fitter. I think we just need a lot smarter training so that we just build better athletes.